Okay, so let's go ahead and try to we're gonna apply sprites to our player in probably one of the most basic ways possible. So let's change this. This isn't gonna be our player anymore. This is just gonna be a tile. And we're gonna want it on the top left instead of in the middle. But we do want our player to be in the center. So let's import we're going to be using some sprites that I've made previously. They're really basic, and we're going to import them all to their own sprite. But we only need 3 animations actually instead of 4 because of a really useful function that basically lets you just flip the sprite over. So we don't need to make one for going left or right. We just need one for going right. Or left, but right's like we do right. So let's so I'm just gonna call this player side, and I'm gonna drag in my, here we go. Okay, and make sure that's middle center for our player, for all of them. So this is my really basic thing. 64. Did it make it larger? Because I don't think that's 64. Yeah, it's 16 by 16. Okay, well, you make sure you change your scale first. Okay, and middle center, and let's make another one. Spur player, let's just say up, and there we go. I think that's the up. It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah. Oops, I forgot to change that. That's weird that it just kind of scales it automatically, I guess. But middle center, and one more for down. Gotta rescale that. It's gonna take me a while to remember that. Middle center were these all in the center? Yeah. And that's down. Okay. So now what we can do, I'm just gonna set our player object to have one of these as the sprite, but it's not actually going to use that sprite. That's just so we can see it in the editor. This is completely irrelevant how we're going to use it. So let's first real quick, let's make a mask for our player. And basically what the mask does is it lets us have the same exact hitbox pretty much no matter how our sprite changes. And it lets us have a hitbox that can be smaller than our sprite, you know. Yeah, I don't know. So I've screwed around before. I think this will be fine. It really doesn't matter what color you use at all in this case because you won't see it. Make that wider. That's gonna be about half. That'll be our hitbox for our character here. So let's apply that really quick. It's easy. Collision mask, and let's just pick that sprite, and that's it. So now let's go to actually draw our sprite. So when we move, you know, it'll look like our character's running a certain way. So we're gonna add a draw event. And we're gonna make this very simple. So let's just do a set of if statements. We can say if h speed is less than 0, was that right? Yeah, I want to say I can do that. I don't know why I'm confused because I just switched to Studio 2 recently. Well, if it doesn't work, we'll see in a second. Gonna make this really simple. So h speed less than 0 is the same thing as saying left, right? So we're gonna want to change our sprite index to player side, and we're gonna want our image x scale to be -1, and that's gonna literally flip our image, because otherwise it would look like we're walking to the right. So let's quickly make sprite index equals player up, and these are a little simpler that you don't have to screw with the x scale at all. Sprite index equals, now this one we're going to be going right. So we want to make sure that x scale flips back to normal, so it's going to be 1 instead of negative. And for v speed, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this one in the step, because I'm not actually drawing anything. So let's find out really quick. And then we gotta make one, so if we're not moving at all, so we do if h speed, here let's put parentheses, if h speed equals 0, just do it condensed, and v speed equals 0. Actually what we want to do is we want our animation to stop, so because otherwise our player will keep running in place. So what we'll do is because we don't want to actually change the sprite, because say we're running to the right and then we let go of the button, we're stopped, your sprite's not actually going to change because you want to face the same direction, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to change the image index to 0. An image index is basically just what frame of your sprite, and 0 is going to be the one where it just looks like they're standing still. Oh yeah, these are kind of out of order. I don't know how that happened. I guess I imported it weird. Let me check. That looks fine. Yeah, and that looks fine too. I don't know why the other one. Anyway, is image index equals 0? I think that would work fine, because make sure, let's dictate our speeds, by the way. Otherwise our image speed will be really insanely fast. So we're gonna do image speed equals, I'll just do, I think 0.1 would be fine, or 0.2. I'll do 0.1. And you know what? Let's move this whole thing into the step, I think. Well, I guess let's test it first, because why not? Yep. So let's move this into the step. We don't actually need to use the draw event because we're not directly drawing anything. Instead, we're just changing the sprite index. So let's go through here and let's put animation, and let's paste that in there, and let's see how this works. And there's our little player. Oh, that's moving really slow. Hold on. How does that... I think when you change the speed in the actual sprite, it will change it for you automatically in Studio 2. I think. I'm not really used to that, so for this circumstance, let's make them all 6, given that we're running at 60 frames per second. Okay, and then let's just go back to our create and let's remove that. There we go. That's kind of small. Well, for you it's probably a little bit bigger, but to me the window's pretty small. So what we can do, and it's very easy, all we gotta do is we go back into our room settings, which has our view, our viewports and cameras. Remember, we go back because we're using viewport 0, and all we gotta do, we're not gonna change the camera properties, but we're changing the viewport. And the viewport can easily scale your window. So basically what we can do here is we can double this and it'll make our game window twice as big. So I'm not the best mathematician. I believe that's 960 and that would be 540. So I can run this. I don't know if it'll appear even bigger on the... no, it doesn't for you, but for me it does. But yes. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, is there anything else? Oh yeah, sure. Let's throw in the walls, obviously. And we haven't, have we? We can throw in a basic collision here. I'm pretty sure anyway. I've done this before, but I hope I don't screw up. So we're gonna go into our step event and let's do this and put collision. And we're gonna make this very simple. So we're gonna do an if statement. No, there's a lot of things. Pretty much everything kind of boils down to an if statement at the most basic form in a way, you know? Well, unless it's, you know, like an equals, but anyway. So we're gonna use the place meeting function. So if place meeting x, okay, so we have to do one for every direction that we're gonna be moving. And so we're gonna do left, up, right, down. That's the order I choose. So we're gonna do these x and y coordinates are referring to our player. So you want to do if place meeting x minus 1. So that's gonna say if we're meeting, you know, the wall 1 pixel to the left of our player, basically. Well, our mask actually. And then we're gonna leave y alone. And we're gonna put wall. I think, oh yeah, we didn't make the wall yet, but we will. And that's a if statement. Okay, so little known fact, everybody makes some mistakes, I think, right? Most people, I do. So here we are, we're going to, first let's change these all to not place meeting. While they're still uniform. And what we're gonna do is because I know it probably kind of looks messy. I don't want it to look like confusing, you know? So we're going to change these to, we're going to copy these, and we're going to put if input left and, or you can type and, but I got used to doing that, and not place meeting. And we're just going to copy this over to all of them, and because instead of checking if it is meeting, it's it's kind of going to be checking beforehand, so there's not really a chance to get stuck in the wall, or at least it's not as bad as before. Like I said, this is some pretty cheap code. Okay, so now it's checking our input and to make sure that's not meeting, and then it'll let us move. So let's go back here, and once hold Alt and drag our little walls, and now let's test it. And there we go, collision. That's for the most part, it's very simple, and it seems to do the job fine. I haven't really screwed around with it. See, I directly hit the corner, but all it did was stop me. So this is really nice. That's cool, right? I think that'll be it for now. So I highly encourage you to try and make your own little sprites like this. It's really not, I find it's really not too hard as it might look. You just want to start with the lower resolution, you know, kind of the lower resolution of your sprite that you, well, to an extent, then it starts getting hard again. But like 16 by 16 is a really good resolution. Even 8 by 8 if you can keep it really simple. But do remember that everything's kind of going to scale together. So if you changed your player to 8 by 8, he would become 1/4 of the size and look really small in comparison to how everything else was already set up. But yeah. I suppose that's it now. We did mask, move animations, and basic collision. I think that's pretty good. So next we can do some tile set stuff, and I'll make it so when your player is like this, you know, from this perspective, your player their head should be above the wall. You know what I mean? To give that illusion of depth. So yeah, thank you for watching.